Hey guys, welcome to your daily stretch. Today we will be stretching in our hips. We'll be working through the poses of reclining pigeon and butterfly pose. Remember, these are stretches that you do after exercise. So if you're ready, go ahead and gather all your props and meet me back here on the mat. Let's start off here in tabletop position. Hands are underneath our shoulders, spread your fingers, knees underneath your hips. Slide your hands forward, either half a handprint or full handprint away. And we're gonna come into our first pose, which is the reclining pigeon pose. Bend the right knee, hug it in towards your chest, and we're gonna find this external lateral rotation as we lay the knee down on the mat behind the right wrist. Stretch the left leg long behind you, allowing the hips to start dropping down towards the ground. So check in here before we drop into this. Shoulders and hips are square to the top edge of the mat. Maybe check in here and see if you need any sort of props to help support this position. If there's anything going on in the knee or the hip or the back and you need some support underneath this right hip, or you find yourself really rolling off to the right side, go ahead and grab your blanket or a block and just wedge that underneath your hips so that you're able to support and square yourself to the top edge of the mat. Allow the hips to drop down, down, down. Maybe find some length in your spine and start to come down to the mat. I'm gonna go ahead and start our time here. Remember, we're holding each of our poses for 5 minutes. But this is your practice. Do not force your body into holding this pose for that long if it's not ready. Try to aim for at least 2 minutes. And each time you come back, see if you can beat that time. At least arrive at the same time that you held it before, and then maybe see if you can hold it for just a little bit longer. Option to stay right here on your forearms. Turn those palms up towards the sky and just let the head hang, close the eyes. Option to use a block underneath the forehead. Of course, if you need to come up, 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 maybe you use a chair to support your arms and your hands. But we're trying to find that tension, that good kind of tension, stretching tension on the outside of our right hip here. And remember, we're toggling the intensity. For this pose, we want to hover around a 7, 8 out of 10 in intensity. Of course, if you are recovering from an injury or any sort of anything that could inhibit or make this pose a little bit more challenging, you're going to want to back off the intensity. So maybe approach it at a 3, 4, 5 out of 10, depending on what you're healing from. Just allow the hips to drop down towards the ground. Again, if you need to go deeper into the pose, just reach the arms long overhead. Lay the torso down. Breathing here. Feeling that tension on the outside of the right hip. The knee points to the top right corner of the mat. If you're in a space and you need to go even deeper, you've tried all the other options, then maybe you heel toe the foot forward to bring the shin almost parallel to the top edge of the mat. But really, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how the pose looks. We are just trying to find that tension, holding there, breathing there, and allowing the muscles to stretch. Deep breath. Relaxing the face, relaxing the jaw, just letting the torso melt towards the ground. Making sure that you're sitting up on top of your hips and not rolling off to the side. 2 more minutes. Deep inhales through the nose and even longer, slower, gentle sighs out the mouth. You've got 1 more minute. Can you relax even more into the pose? Can you give in to the gravity as it's gently pulling you down towards the mat? Good. Go ahead and roll onto this right hip here. Swing that left leg out in front of you. Right leg meets. Shake it out, shake it out. I'm gonna fix my hair here. Good. Go ahead and cross at the ankles. Roll over. Meet me back in a tabletop position. And we'll come into the other side. So start here. Hands underneath your shoulders, spread your fingers, knees underneath your hips. Go ahead and crawl your hands forward, either half a handprint or 1 whole handprint. Hug the left knee in towards your chest. And again, we're gonna find that external rotation or opening the knee up laterally and then laying that knee on the mat behind the left wrist. Extend, stretch that right leg long behind you. As you do that, you'll feel your hips start to drop down towards the ground. Again, right knee is bent and pointing to the top left corner of the mat. And if you feel yourself rolling off to the side, go ahead and grab yourself a blanket or a block. Wedge that underneath your hip so that you can stay sitting on top of the hips and square to the top edge of your mat. Start to settle in here. I'm gonna go ahead and start the time. We'll be here for 5 minutes. And again, we're toggling the intensity. 7, 8 out of 10 is what we're shooting for here. We're gonna toggle the intensity using props to help us back out of the pose if we're going in too deep, and removing props to come in a little bit deeper if we need to go deeper to find our 7, 8 out of 10. Finding that and feeling that stretching tension on the outside of our left hip. You might feel a little bit here in the glutes. Stretching a little bit in the hip flexors on top of the right thigh as well. As you start to settle in here, relax here. You can lower down onto forearms, turn your palms up towards the sky. Maybe you stack forearms and let the head rest. Maybe you reach the arms long overhead if you need to go deeper, lowering the torso down towards the ground. Maybe you use a block for the forehead. Use props to really support the body. And you'll notice the more support you add in here, the more the body really starts to relax. Almost a metaphor for life as well. If you notice, when we have more support, we feel like we can accomplish a lot more. Because you could think the muscles in our body feels the same way. Wherever you're at, just wherever you're at, start to find that stillness. Settle in, close the eyes, and start to bring some of the attention to the breath. Again, deep inhales through the nose and long, slow, gentle sighs out the mouth. Got about 2 more minutes left. Every so often, just scan the body, check in, make sure everybody's doing okay. There's no sharp shooting pain anywhere in the body. Revisit that intensity level, check in there. Make sure that you're still hovering around that 7, 8 out of 10. Settling in again, closing the eyes. Breathe deeply. One more minute. Allow the torso to melt towards the ground. Good, slowly start to lift back up. Roll onto that left hip so you can swing the right leg out in front of you. Left leg comes to me. Shake it out, shake it out. If you need to, you can always punch above and below the knee joint, whatever you need to do to really break up that tension that we've held for those 5 minutes. Good. Let's move into butterfly pose next. So come here seated in the middle of your mat, start in a cross-legged seated position, and sit with a really tall, long spine. Sit here for maybe a breath or so and kind of check in with the hips and the back. Are you able to sit up straight for an extended amount of time, or do you find that the back is starting to round a little bit and the chest, the shoulders start to roll forward? If you do feel that, or maybe you just want to give your hips some TLC, a little extra love today, go ahead and grab a blanket, pillows, or even a block and prop that up underneath, or sit your hips up on the edge of the blanket. So the hips are elevated and then the knees can drop down. This will give you some space and support so that as we come into our butterfly pose, you'll have a little bit of space to hinge forward and maybe access the stretch in a different manner. I'm going to stay right here and see how this feels today. Go ahead and bring the soles of your feet together. We want to bring our the soles of our feet out at least maybe 3 to 5 fist distance away. 4 seems to be a good spot to kind of start and check in. So you're literally going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 away from the groin to the heels. Good. Find some length in the spine. Keeping the spine straight, we're going to hinge from our hips. So start to draw the shoulder blades in towards one another. Spine is straight, and think about moving forward and not down. So staying really, really long. Let's extend long out, forward, over the heels here. And as you hinge, try to keep that spine straight. Walk your hands forward, forward, forward until you reach that space where you're starting to find, again, your intensity level of 7, 8 out of 10. So once you find that, pause there. Palms turn up and just let your head hang. I'm going to go ahead and start our time here. We're going to be here for 5 minutes. Couple of options here. If you find that with your heels in at the 4 fist distance or even 3 is too much and you feel the knees way up like so, go ahead and slide your heels out just a little bit. You want to allow the space for the knees to drop open and down towards the ground. If you need extra support for the knees, maybe they're coming down, but the knees are asking for some support there. You can always pad up the knees using blocks or blankets on the outside, giving your knees something to rest on. Again, hinging forward, walking the hands forward, palms up, let the head hang. Breathing here. Checking in with that intensity level. Do you need to back out? Do you need to go deeper to find your 7, 8 out of 10? Most of that stretching tension that you're going to feel, you might feel it in your back. A lot of it's going to be right there on the inside of our thighs, getting right into those adductor muscles. Wherever you're at, just check in. Make sure there's no pain anywhere. Discomfort is common, especially when we're doing our deep stretching here. And just give in to the pose. Allow gravity to gently guide you deeper into the stretch. Only when the muscles are ready. Again, every so often just check in, especially with the muscles on the inside of the legs. Make sure you're not going in too deep. Breathing here. Option to place the back of your hands on blocks, or maybe you're coming out to where you want something for the forehead to rest on. You can always place a block on top of your heels to give something for your forehead to rest on. Or maybe you slide a block between your feet. Again, you have different heights. Stack some blocks on top, hinge out over the legs, and let the forehead rest. Using props, doing whatever you got to do to really help the body relax, feel supported. You can also try placing a chair here as well over the feet, giving something for your arms or your forehead to rest on as well. Got less than 2 minutes to go. Settle in here, breathe here. Actually, we've got less than 30 seconds here. It's easy to settle in and feel like you want to take a nap sometime in some of these poses. Visiting the breath. Melting in. Go gently plant your palms. Slowly walk your torso back upright. Set your blocks, props over to the side. Maybe extend the legs that long in front of you. Shake it out, shake it out. And there we go, our daily stretch. Thank you guys for stretching with me. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can be the first to find out when the next video drops. So I will see you all again very, very soon.